Well, a politically charged day for the people of Kenya today as we await the move of the Azimio One Kenya Alliance leader in relations to the allegations that have been there and what then the direction he will be, directing his supporters as pertaining to what they need to do politically right here in the country, something that the president says really should not be a cause for alarm, even as the country is trying to get away from that political moment. And as we all thought it's going to be over, but before we realize it, we are back to it. Is it a question of the economy and fixing the nation, or then we are going to be in that moment of politics all through? That's what we'll be looking at this morning, as we also just diverse and get to spaces of understanding what's happening in the educational sector and most importantly in the health sector. Later on the broadcast, we'll also be getting you into that space of understanding menstrual hygiene and how best you can make sure that you can actually take care of yourself and our girls. And of course, we welcome you to be part and parcel of the conversation. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Alela TV47KE. And my name is Linda Alela. This is Morning Cafe. As always, we take a look at what is happening in the world of news as we delve deep into having conversations revolving around these very stories. And of course, we have the papers. The Standard newspaper, the People Daily and the Daily Nation. These are the papers that we'll be looking at just to understand what really is going to play out in this very historic moment where the Right Honorable Raila Odinga says he lands into the country and proceeds to Kamukunji grounds to discuss a couple of matters or to speak to a couple of matters in relation to what played out in the August 9th presidential election and just what way forward for his supporters. As I have said, the president then will tell him, no problem, bring it on. Let's see what direction it takes. Is it going to be all rosy? Is it going to be instrumental in the growth of democracy? A question of wait and see. The Standard newspaper this morning. And as if, yes, here we are, bring it on. It's actually one of the stories, the main stories. Bring it on. Ruto dares Raila on Kamukunji rally. And the president says there is no room for intimidation or no room for handshake. Is he spoiling for a handshake? That is the Right Honorable Raila Odinga. Well, we can only wait to see whether it is the case or not, in spite of threats by opposition to further the narrative that the elections were stolen in today's Kamukunji rally. A story captured on page 10. We'll be looking forward to see what the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is said to speak to the nation. Away from it, fresh headache for teachers as schools reopen. And yes, the 23rd day of January. And finally, we're getting to that space where we are bound to get the education calendar back to normalcy, and we have our students going back to school today, and the Form 1 students equally waiting to be enrolled. And as well, we seek to see just how the junior secondary will manage to transition, as the students who sat for the examination, grade 6 examination, are also transitioning to junior secondary now. And of course, the challenges of a competency-based curriculum. And yes, the junior secondary mass recruitment and retraining of tutors. The climb is steep for stakeholders. This also as parents rue the high cost of living and of course taking their children back to institutions that resume a normal calendar. A story captured on page 4, 6 and 7. We'll be looking to see how this then unfolds unfolds. And yes, our education reporters on standby to make sure that we are updated as to the same. And back to some bit of politics. Chebukati's team faces Masit in election tribunal. A story captured on page 12. This also will be following up shortly to see just how it pans out. The Agdo Muchelule team continues to probe this on this very important tribunal, just so we would get to understand whether indeed this is going to pan out different from what we would have expected. Remember, the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IBC, is now as good as, or the commission itself, yes, is now as good as not occupied because of the exit of the Chebukati 3, the resignation of 3 of the Cherera 4, and now we seek to see what will be the fate of Masit. Hope and reunion in a rabbit year. A story captured on the World page, that is page 29, the World segment of the Standard newspaper. This also as we look at what is happening in the world of sports on page 37. Shujaa left chasing Chasing Shadows, that you can grab a copy and get to have the details of the very same. And for some learners, the journey to that was not smooth, yes, and of course what we're talking about in relation to the question of education still is not all rosy, as we get to see what really is going to be of our students. And speaking of, just the government trying to get to a point where they would break even, and also dealing with the high cost of living and making sure that the agricultural sector is well set. Doubts as to the fertilizer subsidy and whether this will come in handy to end the food crisis. That is a story captured on page 14 and 15. The conversation is still on as to what the Kenya Kwanza government is doing to make sure that we have our farmers up, and managing so well, so that at least in the near future, then we're able to deal with the question of drought. We still are having these cases being reported, especially in the ASOL counties, and we just seek to understand how best we will manage this to make sure that no more lives are lost because of lack of food. The Daily Nation: divorce crisis, couples are going online and hiring private detectives to spy on each other. That the Kenyan household by marital status, and this is quite devastating, that we are almost losing it in terms of the family, and most of the marriages are on the rocks. 1 in every 18 households that is in Kenya is headed by someone who has been divorced or separated, and a 16% rise in a decade, a report by a government agency has shown, and that the chances of a new union breaking are now even higher. Just what could be contributing to this sorry state of affairs? A story captured on page 2, 3, and 4. Perhaps we need to go back to the drawing board and understand what really is the problem. Ruto warning as Raila digs in over 2022 poll. And yes, President William Ruto has dared the Azimio One Kenya Alliance leader, that is the coalition leader Raila Odinga, saying that if he leads these demonstrations over the outcome of last year's presidential vote, then he will not yield to blackmail, and that the president claimed that Mr. Odinga is determined to sabotage his administration's effort to revive the economy. This is captured on page 5, and therefore we'll be getting to details of it to understand what is set for today. Was KCSE exam stolen? These are the questions that are being raised over high grades, and that questions emerge over the credibility of last year's certificate of secondary education, that is the KCSE exams, after some schools recorded sudden rise in a number of candidates with straight A's. But the Education Cabinet Secretary Ezekiel Machogu refuted these cheating claims, insisting the exams were not leaked to favor certain schools. We'll be following up closely as well. It's a conversation that has been making headlines right after the examinations results were declared. There's a dollar crisis, and that fears of a price hike, shortage of basic foods would also be there. And of course, the shortage of greenback posing a threat, that is, to manufacturing and other local industries which rely on the United States currency to import the key raw materials and inputs. That is a story that is on the back page. Fears of price hikes and shortages of goods, and the manufacturing sector is highly dependent on imported raw materials and other inputs for processing, and therefore we're about 124 Kenyan shillings exchange rate of the shilling against the dollar as of last Friday. Just what is going to play out as well is a conversation that is on. We're here to follow up and see how best the country then is able to manage this. The People Daily. Let's look at what the People Daily details this morning. A face-off of a Raila city rally and a high-octane politics. Azimio leader all set for Kamukunji amid fresh claims that August poll was rigged, and that Ruto Rigathi won they will not bow to pressure. A story captured on page 4 of the People Daily. DP Rigathi Gachagua says, "We are asking you, our president, on behalf of the people who assist you, leave this man to us." Dawa ya huyu mtu ni mtoto wa for Mau Mau. The son of Mau Mau is the man's antidote. And, well, Azimio leader Raila Odinga says, I appeal to Kenyans to show up in large numbers at the Kamukunji Baraza in the interest of the country. Just what will this be about? Let's wait and see how best they handle this. And also, President William Ruto says they thought deep state and system would give them what they wanted. Now they are trying to plot other things. Is it spoiling for a handshake? Just what really is informing this move by the chief opposition leader? We can only wait to see. Mudavadi revisits earthquake 1 year on. A story captured on page 8, perhaps this as a blessing to him, and now that they have managed to form government as the Kenya Kwanza team. High fees shock for parents as classes resume. A story captured on page 2 and 3 that Machogu has warned teachers against charging extra levies as learners go back to the normal calendar. That is in a year that heralds end of 844 system in primary amid far-reaching changes, including the competency-based reforms. Those are the key stories that are captured on the People Daily. Allow us to pick these ones that have been worked on by my team. And the planned political rally that is by Azimio la Umoja in Nairobi, that is Kenya, on Monday, has elicited mixed reactions from the Kenya Kwanza government's camp. Deputy President, that is Rigathi Gachagua, has vowed to deal firmly with Raila Odinga's plans as he plans to hold a big political rally at Kamukunji, Nairobi, to allegedly speak to a dossier on how the August 9th presidential polls were stolen.
Amen.
Tough talk.
And I can see people have started distracting, but I'm happy you're not the kind to be distracted.
Na mwenye kutuma na kuwapatia pesa anajulikana.
Threats.
Wewe wachia foot soldiers wako hiyo maneno.
Haiwezekani kwamba Azimio ilikuwa imetengenezwa na mlengo mmoja wa siasa.
And warning against Azimio la Umoja's planned rally on Monday from President William Ruto's brigade.
Huyu William Ruto, huyu president wetu, one of my duties as deputy president is to protect his leadership. Na hakuna mtu ambaye atagusa yeye.
Nataka niwaeleze hawa whistleblowers. Tulikuwa na World Cup. Na World Cup imeisha. Pengine hapo mngepata kazi ya whistleblowing.
And we want to tell Mzee Raila Odinga, you started maandamano in 1990s when I was in secondary school. 97 ukasema you are rigged out. 2007 you are rigged out. 2013 you are rigged out. 2017 you are rigged out. 2022 you are 5 times, my friend.
Speaking during a Thanksgiving service in Kirinyaga County Sunday, the leaders asked President William Ruto not to be threatened by the planned opposition rallies and instead focus on development.
Na rais, tafadhali wachana na mambo ya huyu mzee, tuko hapa. Kuanzia kesho tutapanga na hao vile tutakaa na hiyo watu. Na hiyo maneno ya kupambana na hao tunajua hiyo. So utatupatia nafasi wiki moja mbili tuweke hao kwa laini, wakiingia laini turudi kwa mambo ya kahawa na majani chai na maziwa.
If they were clever and they are politicians, wangekuwa wanajipanga. Wale werevu nimewaona wakipanga laini kwa ofisi ya deputy president kwa sababu wanajua huko hakuna mahali wanaenda.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua vowed to firmly deal with Raila Odinga's plans, asking President William Ruto to leave everything in their hands as he concentrates on fulfilling his promises to Kenyans. Gachagua stated that Ruto's successful tour to the Nyanza region should not be confused as a willingness to have a handshake with Odinga.
Umeleta kisirani, umeuzia Uhuru uoga. Si alimuuzia? Sasa Uhuru akanunua uoga, akamuita kwa serikali kwa handshake. Aliharibu serikali yetu au kuharibu? Tukakwama. Unga ikatoka 90 shillings mpaka 230.
And in a church service at Christ the King Church in Bungoma, Governor Ken Lusaka asked Odinga to avoid politics that might impede development in the country.
Mambo ya maandamano, mambo ya nini, nafikiri is the wrong time. Ni kama wewe unataka msichana ameolewa, ameenda, amepata mimba, anaanza kulipa maji na bado unasema unataka kuoa yeye.
Odinga unsuccessfully challenged Ruto's win at the Supreme Court after the August 2022 presidential election. But politicians allied to him have lately claimed the election was rigged, citing a report by an anonymous whistleblower.
Musikuwe na wasiwasi kabisa. Hii Kenya tutaiunganisha iwe kitu kimoja, tutaweka uchumi mahali pazuri, na mimi siwezi kuruhusu ati watu wachache waende kona pale, ati watupangie njama ya kututisha, ati wanatupangia sijui maandamano.
Mike Kagwongo, TV 47.
And Azimio Coalition Party leader Raila Odinga will today lead the opposition outfit for a public rally at the historic Kamukunji grounds. Odinga, who just in from South Africa at noon, is expected to hold a series of stopover rallies from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport through to Jogoo Road to the city center and finally Kamukunji grounds. And as our senior political affairs reporter Fatwa Council tells us, elections rigging claims and the high cost of living will be high on the agenda.
In what will be a repeat of his homecoming tour in 2017 that was marred by chaos and police blockades, Azimio Coalition leader Raila Odinga puts President William Ruto to test on Monday when he jets back from South Africa at noon in what will be a busy day, according to a schedule released by his allies. From the airport, Odinga will hold a series of stopover rallies along Jogoo Road all the way to the city center and eventually the historic Kamukunji grounds, where he will spell out his agenda.
Na mkutano wa kesho ni wa amani, na pia hatua yetu itakuwa ni amani. Hatutakuwa na watu wa kuleta fujo ama kuleta makelele. Kwa hivyo tungetaka pia polisi ambao watakuwa na tupatie ulinzi, watupatie ulinzi wa kutosha, kwa sababu hakuna mtu atakuwa na vurugu ama hakuna mtu atakuwa amepanga vurugu.
The 2022 general election rigging claims will inform the next course of action for the opposition, as will be dictated by Odinga in the wake of what Azimio terms as whistleblowers evidence, claiming Odinga won the poll with 8.1 million votes against Ruto's 5.9 million votes.
Tumetautishwa sana na haya revelation ambayo zinatokezea sasa, na hayo mambo tunatarajia kwamba mzee kesho akifika ataifafanua zaidi.
And the rally will be meant to exercise the ghost of impunity at Kamukunji grounds.
Democracy cannot be on auction every 5 years. This is very expensive. It has been very expensive for some of us. There must come a time when we shall say enough is enough.
The 2022 general election rigging claims will inform the next course of action for the opposition, as will be dictated by Odinga in the wake of what Azimio terms as whistleblowers evidence, claiming Odinga won the poll with 8.1 million votes against Ruto's 5.9 million votes.
Parties that are participated in the last election have every right also to do their own audit. And if they find something that's not adding up, it is their right to bring it out so that the public can know. So there is no time limit for auditing an election.
This being the second Kamukunji rally under Ruto's presidency, Odinga will also spell out the opposition agenda on the high cost of living and what the coalition terms as unpopulist Ruto government policies, like tracking M-Pesa transactions for the Kenya Revenue Authority.
Tumepata ushahidi ambayo itaibisha kila mtu.
Political analysts have cited Monday's Kamukunji rally as an acid test for President William Ruto on how he will handle a resurgent opposition that is standing up to the West to go easy on the Ruto regime.
It is going to put William Ruto the same situation Uhuru found himself all that time his deputy was campaigning for 5 years. Now William Ruto finds himself an Uhuru timing, that how does he deal with a country that has just moved out of elections and another election campaign has started.
Fatwa Council, TV 47.
And Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua seems to be positioning himself as a potential leader of the Mount Kenya region, as evidenced by his recent actions as the second in command. Gachagua is the most senior leader from the region and has been making moves to unite the region, including holding meetings with former President Uhuru Kenyatta's party. However, it remains to be seen if Gachagua can successfully unite the region and gain support from its leaders and citizens. Our very own Moige William interrogates.
In a move that suggests a power shift within the political landscape, the second in command in Mount Kenya region is picking up pace to take over the leadership vacuum left by former President Uhuru Kenyatta. This week, Rigathi Gachagua held meeting with leaders from the opposition side, and top of the agenda was unity among political factions in the region. Gachagua, being the most senior leader from the Mount Kenya region and the deputy to the commander-in-chief William Ruto, is making a move to assert himself as a political power player. His recent actions, such as holding a meeting with leaders from the opposition side, suggest that he may be positioning himself as a kingpin in the region's political landscape.
Rais wetu tunakushukuru hapa katika Mount Kenya. We made a conscious decision to support you. Not because you had an arrangement with Uhuru Kenyatta, no. Not because you are college, no, but because you have a pragmatic, clear strategy to revive our economy and put money in our pocket. That is why. And so far, Your Excellency, you have started well.
In a significant challenge to the then perceived regional kingpin Uhuru Kenyatta, the former Mathera Member of Parliament rallied the vote-rich Mount Kenya region in defying President Kenyatta in the August election. The region overwhelmingly voted for President William Ruto, thereby challenging Kenyatta's position as the regional political leader. 10 Mount Kenya counties collectively gave Ruto nearly 3 million votes, while the president's main challenger ODM leader Raila Odinga garnered only 847,709 votes from the region.
Tulitembelea Deputy President katika ofisi yake kuangalia hali ya maendeleo katika Mlima Kenya. Sisi wenyewe ambao wengine nominated, wengine walichaguliwa, haja yetu sana tuone vile watu wetu watakuwa wanafaidika.
We do a SWOT analysis and make sure that in future that no other time where Mount Kenya people will be able to face each other, you know, that there will be one person on this side, the other person on the other side. It should never happen.
Earlier, the second-in-command vowed to unite the Mount Kenya region and to ensure that there are no political divisions between Mount Kenya East and West. This is a clear indication that he plans to take charge of the region's politics, with a section of leaders from the opposing side seemingly in agreement with these moves.
We know that when we hunt as a pack, we are able to get more resources. We are able to benefit more as opposed to when we are divided.
Among his calculated moves to carve a niche for himself as a leader from the region, Gachagua has taken up the task of handling matters close to the hearts of residents of the region. Specifically, Gachagua is focusing on farming, a key industry that majority of the region's residents depend on. He is taking on the task of dealing with cartels in the industry, which has been a long-standing issue for the farmers. This move is seen as a bold step towards addressing the concerns of the residents and positioning himself as a leader who is willing to tackle the region's pressing issues.
Watu walikuwa nakula pesa ya watu ya kahawa, mtafuta kitu kingine ya kukula. Si bonus mumeona nimesukuma iko mzuri. Si ni afadhali na bado.
Tunataka kwanza umoja wa mlima, pili maendeleo katika mlima.
Already, a number of leaders drawn from the Mount Kenya region have expressed confidence that Rigathi Gachagua is better placed to be the region's leader. Moige William, TV 47.
Away from politics, and after a 2-month break, primary and secondary school learners in Kenya will return to school from today for the very first time, that is this year, and for first term of the new school calendar, which has been reverted to the normal calendar of the 3 terms in a year. The government has assured that it has already released capitation funds to schools, and the Teachers Service Commission is finalizing the recruitment of teachers who will begin performing their duties this month. Here is our senior education reporter Sharon Baranga with the update.
It is back to school. as the new academic calendar officially begins on Monday, putting an end to a long break of close to 2 months. The school calendar is back to 3 terms in a year. The last 2 years, the calendar was disrupted when the first case of COVID-19 was reported in the country in March of 2020.
On this, I wish to thank all stakeholders, including teachers and parents, who battled all the bottlenecks that were laid on our academic roads by the COVID-19. Thanks to God the Almighty, we have successfully regained our school terms. Undoubtedly, this recovery puts our education sector on a comfortable gradient upon which to deliver on the many reforms lined up.
As is the norm at the beginning of the school calendar, all the learners in basic education will be moving to a class ahead.
Necessary resources that is supposed to be released by government is ready and will be with the schools in terms of capitation. And on Monday, the continuing students will be opening. On 30th, we shall have our junior secondary. On 8th, we shall have our Form 1s going to school.
Textbooks and hard copies of the grade 7 curriculum designs will be made available for all schools. That one, we are making sure that all the required textbooks will be delivered the first week as the schools open on 30th.
This year also marks the end of the 844 curriculum in primary school, as the current Class 8 pupils will be the last class of the over 30-year-old curriculum.
That grade 7 runners will report their respective schools on January 30th, 2023. Additionally, I also announced that the government will spend 9.6 billion on capitation grants to runners of junior secondary school for term 1 and term 2 of 2023, with each of them receiving an individual capitation of 15,000 per year.
Learners who will not have their details captured in the NEMIS system risk not receiving capitation funds from the government, and the head teachers have been urged to ensure that all learners are registered under NEMIS.
In the next financial year, the government will spend 18 billion for the junior secondary school runners capitation grants. Further to this, I now wish to state that of the 15,000 that will be released for each runner, 4,000 will be spent on the development of infrastructure, with the greatest priority being on reparatories.
The Teachers Service Commission has been working behind the scenes in recruitment of the largest number of teachers in a while. The teachers will be reporting to their workstations this month in readiness of the start of the school calendar.
All the teachers who will be recruited in the ongoing exercise, they will be put on a retooling regime that will ensure they adequately attend to our junior secondary school learners. Already, we have trained 2,376 master trainers ahead of the retooling exercise of all the new teachers and others currently teaching in secondary schools. We target to train 90,000 teachers between now and April 2023.
First term will last for 13 weeks, with a closing date slated for 21st April 2023.
I hope you have sat as per the order exam.
Sharon Baranga, TV 47.
More on education. Abao Boys Secondary School in Migori County managed to post exemplary results in the just released KCSE despite having infrastructural challenges. The school principal, that is Jackton Ugola, says the school had registered 133 students, out of which 132 have attained the minimum university entry grade of C+ and above. The school greatly improved with a mean score of 9.0178 compared to 2021, when they had a mean score of 7.5. The school, however, lacks a modern laboratory, library, dining hall, and it has a shortage of clean water. The principal attributed the success of his students to discipline.
I want to partake in engineering because my father is in engineering, my mother is a teacher, and I also have a mentor, my sister, who is also partaking in engineering.
I'm happy. I'm very, very much happy for what God has done to us. Let me take this time to thank my God for this wonderful performance. And let me thank the school, the St. Peter's Abwao fraternity, starting with the principal, the school principal. I like this man so much because he's a tough man when it comes to academics. He doesn't take things aside. Let me take this opportunity to thank all the teachers, the St. Peter's Abwao teachers.
Nikumshukuru Mungu kwa sababu ya umbali ambao ametuleta. Kwanza kabisa nimshukuru head teacher wa hii shule, principal Abwao. Ukweli mwalimu, hongereni kwa kazi nzuri ambayo mmeifanya pamoja na staff yako. Pia ninawashukuru wazazi kwa kazi nzuri ambayo tulishikana mkono tukaombea watoto wetu. Wameweza kutuondolea aibu. Tunamshukuru Mungu sana, sana, tena sana, azidi kuwatangulia hata kwa vyuo ambavyo wataenda.
With this very good performance, we still have a number of challenges, including infrastructural and ideally parents not being able to pay school fee and absenteeism. And therefore, we appeal to all of us to get together and find a way of really resolving some of these challenges that we do have. But otherwise, I really got to appreciate God that we have maintained performance, excellent performance for the last 4 years, which is very exceptional.
Here we are today celebrating the result of St. Peter's Abwao at a mean of 9.07. The target was 8.1, and we have set this target for the last 2 years. But today, as a school, we are happy that we have managed to go beyond the target. What has brought this is so simple: teamwork.
Now, the National Government Constituencies Development Fund, NGCDF, is expected to be a major talking point during the week-long induction for members of the various House committees of the National Assembly, which is set to kick off today. And the legislators will be trained on their roles and responsibilities in their respective committees. And the use of the NGCDF is expected to be a key topic of discussion.
It is all systems go for a week-long induction session for members of various House committees in the National Assembly in Mombasa County.
The business of the National Assembly is about to resume any minute.
The members are expected to learn the ropes on their roles in their respective committees and also the relationship between Parliament and the key stakeholders.
Swetangula are in the chamber.
After the approval of the disbursement of the National Government Constituencies Development Fund, NGCDF, by Attorney General Justin Muturi last year, the members are set to begin a rigorous process of ensuring that the future of the fund is successful.
Other delays. These questions.
Other areas to be widely discussed include the place of committees in the National Assembly and the effectiveness, summary of the performance report of the committees of the 12th Parliament, conduct of committee business in the House, budget policy statement, budget estimates and budget implementation review by committees, and the nexus between the Budget and Appropriations Committee and Audit Committees.
Secretary for Energy and Matters Petroleum.
According to the clerk of the National Assembly, Samuel Njoroge, the induction workshop will also comprise of breakout sessions for respective audit, appropriations and other select committees on Tuesday and Wednesday, while each of the departmental committees will have breakout sessions on Thursday and Friday.
Now, concerns have been raised over a potential crisis in Islamic leadership in Kenya following the launch of the Fatwa Council of Kenya by a group of Muslim scholars. The council, which aims to provide leadership, guidance and direction to Muslims, is seen as a rival to the existing Supreme Council of Kenya Muslim SUPKEM. The launch of the Fatwa Council has sparked fears of a division among the Muslim community and a potential power struggle between the two councils over who has the authority to provide guidance and direction to Muslims in the country. Collins Lusweti with that very story.
A group of Muslims in Kenya have launched the Fatwa Council of Kenya, a body that will comprise of scholars and senior religious leaders who will offer guidance and direction on crucial and important matters affecting the lives of Muslims in the country.
Ndio maana jopo hili
zinduliwa leo kwa mjumuiko wa mashehe wanaoaminika ili kuweza kuangalia zile text kihakika na yale ambayo kwamba wanayadai wengi katika yale wanaoyatoa kwa maana ya fatwa. Fatwa ni jambo linapomshinda mtu anakwenda kwa mashehe. Kwa hivyo kila mmoja anazungumza bila elimu. Kwa hivyo wamekutana wasomi hivi sasa kuweza kujaribu kutatua lile tatizo la kuwazuia wengine wasostaki kuzungumza.
Among the first assignments for the Fatwa Council of Kenya will be to deliberate and provide guidance on whether Muslims should join the National Health Insurance Fund NHIF and whether the Muslim youth can subscribe to the Hustler Fund offered by the Kenya Kwanza government. The council says that for a long time the Muslim community has lacked guidance on such critical issues.
Mpaka leo hatujapata mwongozo kamili kama Waislamu waingie NHIF ama wasiingie. Na nafikiri hii itakuwa ni jukumu moja la Fatwa Council kutoa huo mwongozo.
When asked whether the Fatwa Council of Kenya will duplicate the roles performed by the Supreme Council of Kenya Muslims, SUPKEM, the group insists that the council will only provide guidance and advice on critical matters and leave the decision to individual Muslims.
Mimi naamini hili jopo halikuja kucompete ama kushindana na mtu yoyote. Uongozi popote hata katika serikali ni kuchangia. Watu huchangia, uongozi ndio watu wote wapate maendeleo.
Politicians allied to the Azimio la Umoja coalition have welcomed the launch of the Fatwa Council of Kenya, saying it will offer proper guidance and genuine leadership to the Muslim community. They argue that the council will provide a voice for the Muslim community on important religious and cultural matters and will help to promote unity and understanding within the community.
This is one organization that will speak for the Muslims on very important and crucial issues. This is one voice that is going to be heard in this country, that is going to give directions on important issues that matter within the Muslim society in this country and in the region also.
I can understand it this way, he can understand it that way. That's why we need a council of scholars to guide us. This is a guidance council.
Collins Lusweti, TV47, Nairobi.
All right, that very story by Collins Lusweti is the last one that we picked this morning as we get to a very important conversation. Three matters to look at this morning: the education sector, and the fact that we have our students resuming to the normal calendar, the school calendar, and going back to school after a very long holiday. And away from it, two matters in relation to politics that are equally very, very important that we'll be looking at. That is on the question of just what are the possibilities that then the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua takes up the mantle as the kingpin of the mountain. And away from it, the politics of Right Honorable Raila Odinga, the politics of coalitions, the politics of Azimio Kenya Alliance and Kenya Kwanza, as well as, if you'd like, then say the politics of opposition. The Right Honorable Raila Odinga jetting in from South Africa, jetting into the country, and proceeds to a grand rally that he has called on all his supporters to turn up, in massive numbers so that they would discuss matters, cost of living matters, just how the economy can be brought back to equilibrium, but most importantly on these allegations that the general election and the presidential election, to be precise, was flouted. That is on the August 9th, 2022. This having been challenged at the Supreme Court, wasn't enough to convince the other side that it's all good. And they claim that there's someone, from the IEBC, an insider, who has blown this whistle to say that, the numbers were not, declared as should have been. Just what way forward for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga and Team Azimio Kenya Alliance, as well as the people of Kenya Kwanza, the president saying that no Kenya should get worried about this and they're not going to be coerced to a handshake, if you would want to call it that way, as well as the deputy president saying that his is to make sure that he manages the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, telling the president to focus on working and delivering for the people of Kenya. And therefore, we welcome you to be part of this conversation. The hashtag is Morning Cafe at Linda_Lela TV 47KA. we sample some of your comments as we continue with the broadcast. Wakili Ndegwa Njiro, constitutional lawyer, joins me this morning for this very important conversation, as well as the Honorable Martin Moshisho, who's the Deputy Governor of Kajiado County. I think it would only be fair as well to just understand how far in terms of us getting in right in the question of devolution, now that we have one of the faces that spearheads activities at the level of the county. And lastly, we'll be having a governance expert, Peter Mushendu, who is yet to join us shortly. Gentlemen, thank you so much for creating time. A beautiful Monday. Mheshimiwa, perhaps to start by telling the people of Kajiado Jambo.
Good morning, Linda, and our viewers. My name is Martin Moshisho, Deputy Governor Kajiado. I say hi to the people of Kajiado and the rest of Kenyans. Thank you for watching us this morning.
All right, and Wakili here was should I say angling? Angling is not the right word.
Yes.
Well, I had plans to be the Deputy Governor of Kirinyaga County. Yeah?
Yes. Those plans were there, they were consummated, they were actualized, but the election was stolen.
The election was stolen. You can confidently say that.
Yes.
Not the presidential, but largely. The entire
Mount Kenya region, there were no elections.
Mount Kenya.
It was a sham election. If you see the character of the individuals that were elected in Mount Kenya region, and you'll be able to tell them whenever they go to speak. But may I first of all say hi to
Yes, please say jambo to the people.
Jambo to the people. Yeah. And there's a class of individuals which is now emerging. They are calling themselves vijana pesa mfukoni. They're also calling them themselves the people of the bottom up. Ile maisha imewakalia ngumu.
Paka sasa hivi wanasema kwamba
vijana wanalia. Vijana wanateta.
Walifurahia bure.
Maanake nilikuwa pale mashinani siku ya jana.
Yes.
Na nikapata nafasi ya kupatana na wale vijana. Endapo unajua kituona mheshimiwa tupe shilingi tupe nini kuna this dependency tendency in Mount Kenya region. Watu wetu wamefanywa wafukara.
Ni Mount Kenya tu ama au ni?
Mimi nazungumzia kuhusu
Mount Kenya, manake huko unapafahamu sio?
Manake pia wamepata ile kasumba ya kuombaomba kila wakati. Sasa wanapokuja wananiambia mheshimiwa tupe kitu vile walivyokuwa wamezoea. Naambia sasa pesa iko mfukoni. Chukua simu yako, bonyeza *254#. Pata pesa pale.
Pesa mfukoni.
Lakini wazee, I'm telling you things are not good. But that's the government they chose.
Is it not too early?
It's not too early. You know, that money was supposed to have an instantaneous impact. It was like to be an instant coffee.
That is largely about an individual. Like it is largely about an individual, because once you have managed to get the money,
you cannot speak about an individual. If you go and you're fighting 100 youths with the same problem. Does it mean that among those 100 youths, there's no one youth that God could have at least redeemed?
To have done the right thing with this.
Done the right thing with the amount. So I'm telling you, people are largely in debt. The youths, I didn't see any glittering faces. And for them, they are saying the Hustlers Funds is a curse. That's what they are saying.
Okay. Yes. You know, one of the key supporters of the Hustler Funds is officially here to defend that fund. And not to try and say that whatever it is that you say is not, because reality is that even in our reporting, and even as we speak to people, there's that acknowledgement that indeed times are tough. That's a reality. Mheshimiwa, a little bit too early to question the current government, and perhaps in Kajiado it could be a totally different thing. And in the same lenses that the national government is looked at, as well the county government is looked at, and therefore instantly, as soon as you have been sworn in, the people will start asking, what is this government doing for us? What do you make of what it is that Wakili speaks of?
Well, it's not too early and also too early, but depends with the right step that any government takes. the very first steps that the national government takes, perhaps in terms of policy formulation and the direction that they put to lead the country. Same case to the county government. But to lose hope on the government at this point, I think it's too early. But there needs to be very good preparations towards service delivery, both the national government and the county government.
All right.
Yep.
Peter Moshendu, governance expert, joins us this morning. Thank you so much for creating time, sir. Yes. And you know, you find us talking about the economy. You find us talking about how, you know, there's that level of disappointment in the government that the people elected in. And if not disappointment, then you find us talking about the Hustler Fund, which is a fund that will be, you know, will be criticized for the longest time. I know, for as long as we have it, and for as long as we get to see, you know, substance in terms of what it does to the people of Kenya. Wakili is of the school of thought that really this would have been more or less of a scam. Because it's not doing much for the people on ground. And in his analysis, he argues that 1, 2, 3, 4 of us, if this fund was to be helpful, at least there should be one person who can confidently say that out of this fund, I have gotten this and that. And therefore, to say that maybe this wasn't well thought. What do you make of it?
First of all, good morning,
to
everyone at the panel. I would say that Hustler Fund is barely 2 months old, or if they are about 2 months from the day of its inception. And as the Deputy Governor has said, sometimes it's very early to criticize government.
Wakili says that when you sold the Hustler Fund, yes, the idea was that this is going to be an instant redeemer.
First of all, my friend Wakili was opposed to this government from the word go. And from the day the president was sworn in, he has not seen anything positive with government. I say this because I am a very keen follower of debates where Wakili is involved. So I would really not base the positiveness or the negativeness of this government based on the views of Wakili.
Is it?
Yes, I would definitely not do that. However, I would say that the kind of expectation that Kenyans went to with the ballot is what is making this government look like it has failed. Because today, Rinda, if you come with such heavy expectations and it is not met to par excellence on what you expected, there will be that feeling. But bottom line is, economics is not something you wake up and turn around in one day. Considering the plight that Kenya is in right now, well, I keep on saying that when His Excellency Dr. William Samoei Ruto took government, he may not have the exact idea of where the economy had sunk into, but he pretty much had an idea on what kind of a nation he is picking up to start rebuilding it. Now, don't you find it very ridiculous that we are criticizing a fund that is 2 months old? That fund is on its initial stages. We are trying to experiment on how to implement it so that it can become beneficial to Kenyans. Now, it is all right for everybody to criticize government, but we always argue when we come on this panel that when you're doing criticism, let it be done constructively. But you cannot criticize government from word go every day, morning to evening, and you can't actually see anything positive about.
Is it not the same criticism that the current government, put on the previous one? And I mean, perhaps just to ask the deputy governor here, just how much is a deputy involved in the activities of a nation or of a county that he leads, and how much can they be segregated? When the current president says that, during this time, this is, we're literally locked out of government, and therefore we had no idea of what was happening. And now we're inheriting a government that is extremely on its knees, and therefore perhaps there's nothing really, okay, well, there's something that we can do, but it's not looking good. Just how much can now the governor, Linko, say that, you know what, you are locked out of the activities of this county, that even when he exits, you would not know where to pick it from?
Thank you. First of all, let me just have a word on the Hustler Fund. I'm such a kind of a person who speaks my mind, and not really leaning on to my political affiliation.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the impact of the Hustler Fund is not felt. I'm not saying this because I come from the opposition side. But number one, Kenyans had a lot of expectations from the Hustler Fund. But I think its impact is not really felt because it is just another, you know, it's just another fuliza. First of all, you know, the limit to borrow, I find it an issue. And that is my own opinion. Someone borrowing to tune of 500 shilling might not really do much. Yes, as much as you can borrow and buy a few bananas too, but what happens to a young man who has got big ideas and wanted some amount of money, more than 2,000, 3,000, to be able to, you know, start a business? The hopes will definitely die because the Hustler Fund he has been hoping to be a rescue is not really helping. Probably for him or her to be able to achieve the limit of 10,000 plus might take years. And therefore, I would interest the government led by my friend, our President, His Excellency William Ruto, to review and probably review the limit, because it will give more hope to many young people who
which they say they will, and therefore the biggest problem to you could be the limit.
The limit generally.
Generally the limit.
Yes.
And there's that positivity that then it could do much. In
Correct. We embrace the fact that, you know, through a button, you can be able to get money. That is very good. It removes the bureaucracies, and that is really, really good for our country. But how about if we can review the limit as fast as possible? I think that will be better. Coming back to being a deputy in a country and in a county, let me start by saying that the functions of a deputy, both in the national government and the county government, probably is limited in the law. Because for an example, a deputy governor just mentions that a deputy governor is the deputy CEO of a county. A deputy governor may be assigned a portfolio, and probably in the I think the other one is to say a deputy governor will be in charge in the absence of the governor. Those are the three functions that are mentioned in the law. Some case, I think, in the constitution for a deputy president, the functions are limited. But now, depends with how good is the relations between the president and the deputy president, the governor and the deputy governor. The president might assign a deputy president functions like what our president has done
And we appreciate that because last time he says I was denied, responsibilities to serve the country. And he's showing that he will not do that to his deputy. And he has assigned a good number of roles to the deputy president. To the county deputy governors, also depends with how good is the relations between the governor and the deputy governor. Though we really trying to correct that. I also serve as the chairman of Deputy Governors Forum. And I have always been pushing to see to it that the deputy governor can be assigned more roles by the constitution, by the law. That will cure the problem in a scenario that the deputy governor and the governor are not really working together. Yeah, because it will end up by a deputy governor just becoming a flower girl, just someone who is in the office reading magazines and all that. But we appreciate governors who assign their deputies many roles and functions in government, and deputy governors can be as busy as a governor in a county because there is a lot of work in the county.
And I've not had much of this, in as much as, yes, with the deputy governors we have. Constitutional lawyer Ndegwa to imagine that we then have a deputy that, is taking money home from the taxpayer. But really the Constitution does not accord them specific functions and, proper functions for that very matter. That their survival in this very office is highly dependent on their bosses. What it is that Honorable William Ruto, that is now the current president, then used to complain about the fact that not much has been accorded to him in terms of duties. 10 years down the line, he can confidently say that he really was not aware of what was happening then, and that it was a total mess that was not, instigated by now the Jubilee government, the president, and him as well.
One thing that I credit Mr. William for is the ability to detach himself with whatever is stinking and to always try and associate himself with that which is good. You might think that he has just begun serving government after the August election, forgetting that he has been in government for the last 10 years and all the mess that has happened in this country, if it has happened courtesy of him being in government. You see, in law, we say that you can either be convicted for offenses of commission or the offenses of omission. Therefore, to the extent that he then says that he does not understand what was happening in government, then he is guilty as charged for the offenses of omission, having omitted to do what Kenyans mandated him to do. And even if he may want to say that he was just a deputy president without any portfolio, then he had his ability to to become a whistleblower and say that things are not happening. Then to the extent that he also decided to just remain silent and things go south as he watched, you remember the other day he said that there was a container that was being used to kill people. To the extent that he remained silent, knowing that the lives of innocent people was being killed by individuals, and he remained silent, then he's guilty as charged of the offense.
Was he silent? Allow us to take a short break. And
yes, he was. He never spoke at that particular time.
He kept on saying that the president is my friend.
He allowed people to be killed. He never spoke about it. Why is he speaking about it today? And the same thing, I'm going to join issues when I come back with the question of the Chebukati issue. To the extent that he has been serving in government and he has chosen to remain silent, whether my good friend here will be comfortable with my assertions or not, I'll be able to say categorically that he is guilty as charged. And therefore he should remain silent.
All right, after this short break.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics.
the back.
It is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is alive. Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia. Kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mtuko.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk.
Yes, welcome back to the broadcast. As well as Honorable Moshisho Martin, the Deputy Governor of Kajiado County, and governance expert Peter Moshendo. So, Wakili, we come back.
Yes, I think I was on my feet.
Yes.
And I was just about to say that it is very shocking that he kept on complaining for the last 2 years, that is 2021 and 2022, to try and convince the people, the so-called hustlers, that he was kicked out of government so that he may not carry the baggages of the incumbents.
Was he not?
He was in government, but he was strategically fraudulent in the sense that he was able to detach himself from government. And then you can see, even with that in mind, when he came to make the proposals for the constitutional amendments, he never touched the office of the deputy president. And so it is even for the office of the governors. There is no proposal that has been made to try and make the offices of the deputy governors and the deputy president more concrete. Now, saying that you shall depend on the benevolency of an individual, that is, it's because of the goodwill or the benevolency of a president or the benevolency of the governor, that the deputy governors and the deputy president should continue to subsist. It's quite toxic in a democracy like this one of ours. And in a democracy that is informed by so many other factors, not to mention tribalism, and also to mention the question of the haves and the haves not that has been introduced into a system of late. So in my view, if he was genuine and if he really felt the pinch of being sidelined, then he should have made sure that in the constitution there is a clear provision. His proposal of the memorandum dated the 9th of December, he should have made clear that I want to protect the office of the deputy president through concrete constitutional amendments, so that the deputy will not depend on the whims and the wishes. Like you can see now what has happened to Mr. Gachagua. Mr. Gachagua has been told, you will now be responsible for supervising independent commissions and devolution the counties. What you should not forget is institutional independent commissions like the IBC, or the Judicial Service Commission, or the EACC, or the Teacher Service Commission, and then or the National Police Commission. All those commissions are independent. I do not know how he's going to penetrate and supervise them.
Is it a matter of penetrating and supervising them, or just making sure that
you see, he has been given a task that is constitutionally undoable?
Okay.
because you cannot supervise them.
Supervising them is as good as interfering in the
is interfering with their constitutional independence. And so it is even for the counties.
Right.
Counties have a well-structured, well-elaborate and established governance. So how is he going to supervise, say for example, a county like that of Kajiado?
Is it supervision or just creating that room for?
We were told it is supervision,
okay.
as it was given by the master.
Peter Moshendu, and here we are. We're talking about the possibility of the deputy governors having an office that is not really strong but is well defined, and as well just getting I would say duties accorded to them, proper duties. And true to it, we've had this conversation of the amendment of the Constitution, perhaps nothing much about this very same office. And to imagine that theirs will be dependent on that goodwill of their bosses, that is the governor or the president, is something that gets us a little bit worried. Looking at how much these individuals that are always selected to be deputy governors or to be deputy presidents are quite strong and seasoned politicians in most cases.
Well, I think Wakili is being sensational in terms of trying to convince those who are watching that the deputy president has been given a role of supervision.
A prefect.
Even before it goes to that,
yes.
before it goes to that, it started from the president and what he was trying to say. And true to it, the Kenya Kwanza government comes to us and keeps telling us or reminding us of how they have inherited a terrible government. I remember there were calls of the deputy president then to resign. If you think you're not part of government, if you think that you have been sidelined, why don't you step aside and allow for the government to run activities the way they want to? Can he get himself off the hook by saying that he has no idea of what really was going on then, yet he continued to thrive therein, yet he continued to sit in there without blowing some of the whistles that actually Wakili speaks of or alludes to?
Well, first of all, the deputy president is elected in the same ticket with the president. And therefore, more or less, because as a president, you cannot go to the ballot without picking a deputy. So it is good to note that both of them are elected in the same ticket. Well, when they don't agree as the principal and the principal assistant, that is unfortunate for the country. But that does not warrant that the deputy president, who is part of the reason why we went to the ballot, that just because they don't agree with the president, that the deputy president should resign. His position is protected in law. Now, the drafters of the Constitution saw it right to protect the position of the deputy president, unless otherwise, and I keep saying this, if indeed the side that Wakili supported then felt that the deputy president should not have been part of government, they had the luxury of bringing an impeachment motion against the deputy president. Let's get this clear so that we do not confuse issues. One, the deputy president is the principal assistant to the president.
And to imagine that they have been elected together, or the deputy has been elected alongside, and that at some point in time they can claim to have been sidelined. Is that to say then that the voice of the people does not really count?
Because you see, let me tell you, and I keep telling you, one of the things that Kenyans must understand, especially those of us who come from the Mount Kenya, in this country we do not have a majority community or a majority tribe. What we have is what I would refer to as significant majority. Because for you to have a majority in the republic, you have to be over 50%. So, like those of us who are Kikuyus, we are a significant majority in this country. We are a significant majority in the nation. And therefore, for you to become president in this republic, you have to make, you have to go out there and reach out to like-minded people who are not necessarily from your community. And you have to make an agreement for you to be able to win. This is what the Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable William Ruto tried to do in August. They tried to create coalitions that would win them. And therefore, when you have a president and a deputy, it is a culmination of so much agreement. See, the Honorable Raila Odinga and Honorable William Ruto, both of them got their deputies from the Mount Kenya. Why? Because Mount Kenya is a significant majority in the community. And it meant if you were to create a coalition with them, the possibility of you winning an election is very high. And therefore, when you are elected together with your deputy, there are people who have given you their vote as a president simply because you have picked a deputy who they prefer or who they consider to be the leader of their community or the leader of their region. And therefore, it is paramount that when you get there, and I keep saying this, I hear Wakili talking about the president bringing amendment to give the office of the deputy president more power. I am always against that. Even when William Ruto was the deputy who was being seen as sidelined, I still felt that the responsibility or the center of power must not be put. We must not create another center of power. The reason why we have a presidency, it is because we want to create one center of power that every other position in government is operating from a delegated authority. And therefore, I do not envision, let me tell you, the issue of a deputy anywhere in the world was not basically to actually share power with the president. It is a contingent, it was majorly as a contingent measure that in case something happens. Today, if you go to the US, there is something they called a designated survivor, that not at every given time the president cannot hold cabinet with all members of the cabinet. There is always that person who is left out just in case something happens. That person will take up the role. Now, the role of a deputy president or a deputy governor is majorly to assist the president, and in case the worst was to happen, you do not have a vacuum of power.
Contrary to what we had with the previous laws, the current constitution, I don't know, speaks differently? Or
actually, the current constitution is the one that has given a clear mandate, a better clear mandate to the deputy president. Because you remember last time, the former constitution, the president did not need to consult anybody. He did not need to go to the ballot with his vice president. In fact, one time when President Moi was visiting Limuru, my home, and stood on a stopover, it is the day he declared that the Honorable George Saitoti is going to be the vice president. This is after Moi had spent almost a whole year without a vice president. And therefore, this constitution has given a clear, better mandate to the deputy president, seeing that you have to pick a deputy president before a general election, and you cannot fire him at will. If the deputy president is about to go home, it has to be through parliament. And therefore, I think what I would disagree with Wakili is that the responsibility of the deputy president to chair and coordinate about county government, it is enshrined in law. It is not actually a responsibility.
You can pick it out for us.
Yes, it is not a...
He's a constitutional lawyer, yes?
Yes. You know, he doesn't have to... He doesn't have to harass me.
No, refers to a specific provision.
Wakili, I will
so that we may debunk that rumor.
No, let's allow for him.
Wakili, I'll do it at my pace. In fact, you should refer your argument to the coordinator of the debate, and then she should request me, and which I will do in due course. But the responsibility to chair that particular council and the deputy, the chairman of the deputy governors is here. It is a responsibility enshrined to the deputy president to be able to do that. And therefore, when he is talking about the ills and the bad things that has happened to government and trying to squarely blame the Honorable William Ruto because he was the deputy president, I would remind him that the roles of a deputy president, other than that one that has been put in terms of counties, the others are what you call delegated authority. He is a principal assistant to the president, and the constitution actually goes ahead to say that the president may allocate him duties as he deems fit. Now, I would want him to tell me what are those duties that the Honorable William Ruto, when he was the deputy president, was allocated by the president an absconded duty. Because we cannot, the center of power, it is with the president. And the president offers what is called delegated authority and delegated directives.
You know, we can't sit here.
And you think that constitutionally it's not...
Try to teach us what the constitution does not say. Maybe let's have the good...
Let's have the DG come in and perhaps tell us...
So that you can save us the predicaments.
No, we'll come and counter that. And he says in due course he's going to present. Let's allow him to argue his case. Yes.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think on this debate about enshrining the functions of a deputy president and the deputy governor in law, you know, we are the one who made this law and we are the one who can amend it. So from where I sit, I suggest, and it is of my strong opinion, that we need to enshrine the functions of the deputy president, the deputy governor in law. True, the president and the governor should have all the powers, but again, doesn't mean when we have the functions of the deputies in law limits the powers of the president and the deputy president. So I strongly believe we can do something as a country. On the deputy president's function on, the intergovernmental responsibility, yes, Honorable William Ruto has been chairing IBEC meetings.
Yeah.
Deals with budgeting from the national government and the county government. He has been doing it perfectly, even when he has been complaining about government last time. And I think that function has been maintained to the current deputy president, Honorable Rigathi Gachagua. Well, there has been some improvement to talk about, these independent commissions. He might not have much about the operations of those commissions, but I think, yes, he can provide, the relations between the commissions and the government, and I don't find a problem with it. Yeah.
And really no problem with that. Whether enshrined in law, we need to understand that.
It's a serious problem.
Yes.
Because the reason why Kenyans decided to create Chapter 15 commissions is because previously those commissions were infiltrated by the executive. When somebody like Musanu comes and makes submissions on that perspective, he tells me that he has not read the history of this country. He tells me that he has not interacted with the Council of Experts report. It tells me that he has not interacted with Professor Yaspal Guy's report rising from the Bombers convention. It tells me that even from the civil society perspective, where he comes from, he never interacted with the Fungamano Initiative reports. Because all these reports, they indicated and intimated that we need to have independent institutions that will not be infiltrated by the executive if they were to function. Remember, there is no democracy in this world that can function outside institutions. And that is why Moi was able to be what he was. But I do not blame this current administration. They are remnants of Moi. Moi did not believe in institutions. He believed that institutions must be infiltrated so that they can serve its purpose.
Why would it be about an individual? If
you see, the reasons are well crafted. Do you know why I've made that angle?
Proper systems and structures.
Do you know why I've made that approach in my submissions? Is because saying that independent institutions like commissions should be supervised. You are telling me, I'll give you an example of the IBC. IBC, that is a fundamental state organ that helps us to form government. It will now be under the supervision of one Mr. Rigathi Gachagua. IBC, just take it. So even as we constitute IBC today, the secretariat is under his supervision.
Even without this, Wakili, there's been allegations that yes. These independent bodies have been, infiltrated upon. And
they have been.
Yourself. So how different would they?
You see,
perhaps it's time to try a different.
The reason why we have this problem before Mheshimiwa comes in, is because we have not allowed these institutions to grow. I am one strong advocate who believes that institutions must be left to have a life of their own, so that they are able to serve Kenyans and complement the executive or the legislature as and when the same takes a nosedive in the manner in which they are administrating the government. But what is creeping in slowly from this Kenya Kwanza administration is that we are having a process of quite well-calculated, well-structured strategy of bringing in what you call secretarianism.
To interfere
with the people. That is why someone like Rigathi Gachagua would say that he is going to deal with Raila Odinga.
And we're going to come to that. Take us slow. We're going to come to that. And I mean, he's in charge as the deputy president. And
he's not.
And then it is politics.
He's not in charge of the constitution.
DG.
He's not in charge of the constitution. Kenyans
which speaks of the right to picket, demonstrate.
And who said we are picketing?
It's not. Actually, it's a march to.
It is nobody who said we are picketing.
All right.
And why are they afraid of?
We appreciate the sentiments of Wakili, and that's very good. But I would like us to be very factual and be correct in whatever that we talk. I think the function that we are discussing, according to how it is framed, it says that the deputy president will be the liaison with the Constitutional Commission and independent offices in matters that require intervention by the national government, including budgets, policy formulation, and implementation of their recommendation. You will find that this commission at one point might need the national government at one point.
And they're supposed to.
In one way or another. So what the president has done is someone to liaise in the national government is actually the deputy president. I don't find a problem with it.
It's not supervising, it's actually liaising.
So it should not be
complementing.
Supervision. It's not supervision, but it is about liaising.
And creating that balance, which is necessary. Peter Mushendo, you wanted to say something?
You know, I thought when Wakili comes and passionately talks about prefecting independent commission, that is basically supposed to whip emotions of those who are listening to us. And I am glad the deputy governor has put it correctly. In fact, his relationship between the Constitutional Commission is limited to matters that only require government intervention. And the truth of the matter is, when it comes to budget policies, we have to liaise with government, because at the end of the day, like when the president was sworn in the first day, he talked about the judicial fund. For judicial fund to become operational, there has to be a serious liaison between them and treasury, which is part of the executive. So when the president says that my deputy president is the contact person, when we want to solve an issue that is consisting and it is concerned about a constitutional commission, this is the man you reach out to first, and then he can now rope in the government. There is nothing wrong with that, because when you look at the relationship between the executive, in order for the executive or constitutional commissions or independent bodies like parliament to function, there has to be a relationship that, of course, that is able to bring out a very good platform to work, to deliver results. Today, if the president wants an operationalized budget, it has to be taken to parliament. And parliament has to pass that budget. And then it is taken back to the president to become law. Today, if the, the Judicial Service Commission appoints judges to take up the roles in High Court or Supreme Court or Court of Appeal, that appointment has to be regularized by the president. And therefore, that means if as much as judicial service or IEBC or other independent bodies is independent, there has to be a synergy or kind of cordial working relationship, and that means there has to be that point person. Now, the president, as the head of the executive, has deemed it right that this responsibility should be bestowed to my deputy Rigathi Gachagua. I don't see a problem with that. And then you expect, Linda, with all honesty, someone who is a constitutional lawyer and who is talking about practicing constitutionalism and talking about civil rights and civil liberties in this republic, he has, I'm arguing with someone who is referring to a sworn-in deputy president of the republic under this constitution, or the president of this republic constitution. The guy is referring them to as Mr.
What is wrong with that?
And he is...
What is wrong?
What is wrong with what do your horses wakili?
We had debate the other time. Yes. We agreed that Mr. Caught them. But there's really nothing wrong with that.
Ivu Wakili was just another Kenyan who is not a sworn advocate, who is when we live here, he will probably head to court to represent someone apparently who may have been crossed the law. And he is here, he cannot recognize the president and his deputy who are sworn legally because their election was taken to the High Court. To the Supreme Court, which was challenged, and the Supreme Court...
We've had this conversation with him before. There's really nothing wrong he's done.
The Supreme Court actually confirmed that indeed the president and his deputy were elected constitutionally. And you have a constitutional lawyer who is so rigid that he cannot recognize that William Ruto,
we also
the deputy president, is the president.
We also recognize him as Wakili.
He should know he's not the first one.
Nothing wrong with what he
Mutua was there who did not recognize Kenyatta, and that did not stop President Kenyatta from executing his duty.
May I have a bite of it?
30 seconds.
Because this is the kind of the praise and worship team that I do not belong to, Mr. Musendo. And I have the right to exercise my consciousness whatsoever for whatever reason and purpose.
But we spoke about this
and I have the reason,
time, yes.
and I do not know which law that has been prescribed by Parliament in the manner in which I should address individuals. Not just the president or the deputy president, even if it would have been any other organ. Because when I call him Mr. William Ruto, I am according him the most respect that I can. And so it is even for Mr. Gachagua.
But all the same, let's just say...
But as I finish up, please, I cannot be coerced by situations to address somebody in titles that I do not believe that were generally acquired.
Okay.
May I say that the unfortunate thing that you did is to bring somebody who does not understand the Constitution.
Let's proceed and let's read that.
That is a tragedy, because when they refer me to what the president gave or to what Mr. William Ruto gave us the directions,
and they've
when we were somewhere in Nanyuki, and it takes that as a constitutional gospel truth that is just a liaison, you should have brought me somebody who understands. And
let's proceed and read what it is.
I grant Mr. Musendo. I want to refer Mr. Musendo
to the same document.
Article 250. No, not that document.
All right.
The Constitution. Article 250. It says it establishes the constitutional commissions. So it gives the composition of the constitutional commissions. It says, and I go back to Article 249. It says the commissions and the holders of independent offices are subject only to this constitution and the law. B, are independent and not subject to directions or control by any person or authority. The Constitution does not appreciate those arguments of liaison. Why? Because these commissions are only answerable to Parliament, and they have the means in which they correlate and they have an interface, a constitutional interface between themselves and Parliament. So when you, Article 249, Clause 2. These commissions and the holders of independent commissions. So when you tell me that Deputy President or Mr. Rigathi Gachagua is the liaison officer, and that is the benevolence of the President.
Is it not the Constitution that speaks also of, say, the national and the county governments of the importance?
Yes, but remember,
to interrelate.
Remember, I'm addressing independent constitution commissions.
Yes.
You see, my biggest trouble is that Kenyans are not appreciating one fundamental fact. that since Mr. William Ruto became president, by whatever means that he did, he has consistently amended the constitution by dint of deeds.
In the presence of constitutional lawyers, in the presence of
by dint of deeds.
Structures that we have.
Yes.
And Wakili, I'll ask the very same question. I'll ask the very same question I asked initially. Should it be about the structures and the systems, that are coded to these independent commissions that you speak of?
Yes.
Such that, we should not get to a space where we are worried when there's an individual who appears to say that, well, maybe at this point we need to interrelate, we need to complement each other, we need to work as government for purposes of the people of Kenya. If the structures are in order, if the systems are in order, why should we have this very fear? Allow us to take a short break, then we come back.
All right.
Next episode of The Realtor.
I know most of Kenyans are looking for a place to call home, either by renting or by buying. And this time I want to take you around to have an experience of what a bungalow looks like, what it is all about, and how can you acquire one. This Tuesday at 8:30 p.m.
Je, maumivu ya kichwa na kukosesha amani? Kaluma Strong hutuliza maumivu ya kichwa, maumivu ya mwili na hata huondoa joto jingi mwilini. Kaluma Strong ina aspirin kama kiungo. Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
Are you looking for a distinguished institution of academic and professional excellence to kickstart your career? Then join KIPS Technical College, a top NEC, CASNEB and NEET examination center in Kenya that is fully accredited by TVET Authority with over 90% national exam pass rate. We offer high quality, hands-on training in engineering, hospitality, tourism, journalism, ICT, business, accounting, hairdressing and beauty, health sciences, community development and foreign language, and have placed over 26,000 graduates since 1994. Our state-of-the-art equipment, well-equipped workshops, indoor and outdoor sports facilities make us the preferred choice.
During my training, I was able to become a SCIPS, which has helped me to achieve my goals in community development.
Admissions for January 2023 intake is ongoing. For more information, call 0720-813-113 or visit any of our 6 campuses located within Nairobi. KIPS Technical College, your sure path to success.
Kaluma King Herbal Lozenges zinazo nguvu maradufu kutuliza kikohozi, vidonda vya koo na mafua. Kaluma King ni shwari.
Tika mama huyo muharifu kaiba kuku zangu, vifaranga wangu na mayai zote pia kabeba. Aya, tika mama huyo.
Maumivu yakizidi, muone daktari.
You are watching TV47, the home of untold stories.
Title. Welcome back to the broadcast. Wakili Ndegwa Njiro is with us this morning. Honorable Deputy Governor of Kajiado County, Moshisho Martin, as well as governance expert Peter Mushendu. I want to take it away from him to deputy, to you or the Deputy Governor. Okay, well, let's start with you.
Wakili is so much in reba to try and disassociate the Constitutional Commission from the executive. One of the things that you must realize is that for any successes, whether in the executive or in the constitutional independent commissions, there has to be a synergy and a working relationship between the two.
But we've also seen failures cropping up from such.
That's what I'm saying. when the president says that Rigathi Gachagua is going to be a liaison between the executive and the Independent Constitutional Commission, I will invite you to go to Article 254 of the Constitution. The Article 254 of the Constitution 1 says, as soon as practicable at the end of each financial year, each commission and each holder of independent office shall submit a report to the president and to parliament. It goes to part 2 of 254 says, at any time, the President, the National Assembly, or the Senate may require a commission or holder of independent office to submit a report on particular issues.
So therefore, it is in order for
Wakili, I've given you time to execute. I've given you time.
So that means the President can as well say, submit this through my deputy.
That does not mean
Wakili, can you allow me to execute?
Let's allow him.
Protect me from here.
Yes, you're protected.
Because I am not
you're protected. You're protected.
When the president appoints Rigathi Gachagua as the liaison, if he cannot honor the
proceed.
You can simply tell us to end the debate because
proceed, Peter Moshendu.
When the president appoints the Honorable Rigathi Gachagua as the liaison between the executive and the Constitutional Commission, part 2 of 254 requires that the president may ask or request a report on any particular issue from an independent commission or an independent commission office holder.
It does not matter the time.
It does not matter the time. Any time the president feels he requires a report, that particular section provides him that. The Constitutional Commission in Article 250, Article 254, in Article 254, are required to submit reports at the end of every financial year to both the president and the National Assembly. That is the law that the learned friend here does not want to go further and quote. And therefore, why is an independent commission required to submit a report to the president? That's the question you need to ask yourself.
Would you save that lecture for another day?
Why is the Constitutional Commission required to provide a report to Parliament?
Linda.
So therefore,
let's allow for him to.
I am not a lawyer, but neither will I sit here and allow somebody to think that he is the only one who understands the law.
Would it be necessary for Kenyans to be guaranteed that there's not going to be some level of interference?
Let me tell you, and I said it last time here. Let me ask you, every single independent commission we are talking about, it is subjected to Parliament for the approval of those members therein who hold those offices. I gave you an example last time I was here of the IEBC. For someone to end up being a commissioner of the IEBC, there is a rigorous political process that goes through Parliament. And therefore, the reason why that process is taken to Parliament, it is because those people who sit in Parliament are operating on delegated authority in Article 1 that the Kenyans have enshrined has given them so that they can act on their behalf.
But Moshendu, you will not
and therefore, if you are expecting that any constitutional independent commission will be 100% independent, then you should have taken Parliament out of the equation.
And this is where the debate
and this is the whole
thing. A very interesting argument.
Because if every member of the commission has to go through Parliament, then there is a political process that is involved. And I can assure you there is no single political process in this country that will be 100% independent.
All right, so then we ask ourselves, what is this that is in the Constitution that speaks of independent commissions as we close this debate? Because then what is the independence in this very aspect, if at all? At some point in time, IEBC will be required to, work in liaison, if not, complementing what it is that other entities are doing. If we're going to get the members of Parliament to vet these commissioners and then later on say that these ones were installed by the previous government and therefore they did not conduct the processes as independent as it would have been required.
I still believe up to this point the independent commission still maintains their independence, and I still strongly believe that by the president assigning his deputy functions that relates to independent commissions does not mean it is going to interfere with the independence of these commissions. you know, the office of the president and the deputy president is still the presidency. And therefore, if at some point this independence has to touch on the presidency, then there is no problem with the president assigning his deputy liaison responsibilities to his deputy. Having said that, I think Parliament is entitled to have a function relating to these commissions in terms of vetting and all that. And I still think doesn't really interfere with their independence. I think that touches on either they are coming in or coming out.
I would want to understand where Wakili comes in when he argues this way, because the latest allegations of the interference of an independent body is on the question of the IEBC, and perhaps the most that it has been alleged to be interfered with, and that includes the Cherera 4 that again supporters of this or members of this very government have argued that these ones were installed by the previous regime. And so to imagine that then there's going to be that process of liaison and guarantee the people of Kenya that there's not going to be any form of interference in the operations of these independent bodies. DG?
I don't really feel to, because honestly, the Cherera 4 were not installed by the William Ruto.
But at least the members said, well, not the William Ruto government, yes.
They were installed by Parliament.
Yeah, by Parliament, of course, they went through the vetting processes. We all saw that. And maybe, again, what it is that Peter Moshendo alludes to, that how can you confidently say that this can be independent bodies without?
Honestly, there is no any other way to, bring commissions in if we, remove Parliament out of the equation. Parliament comes to approve. There is a process, but Parliament just approves the names. And I don't see us being able to remove Parliament out of the equation of that.
Yeah.
But to say that any commission has to be controlled by the current government, that is not really possible, because, for example, the Cherera 4, if they were to be manipulated, then they were to be manipulated by the current government. That means the Uhuru government. But now Parliament, the IEBC, we are now accusing IEBC of supporting the current government to be in power. So I think these commissions just depends on the character of an individual when he is in that commission.
Which should not be the case.
Yes.
Wakili, let's sum this debate up by picking up a very important matter that you raised, or something that you said as a by the way, but I think should form the basis of the conversation this morning as well. When you say that then you shouldn't be coerced to call someone, by their title, because then you do not believe in the process which actually got them installed to that very position, is to say that you agree with the latest allegations that
the
whistleblower.
Yes. These issues of the whistleblowers has not just originated from the blues. And you can see it has come almost 6 months following the declaration. It means that somebody sat somewhere and did his homework. Remember, one of the issues we had in the Supreme Court was to access the server. That access was never granted. Why? And I understand where the Supreme Court was. We have 100 or 1,001 servers that we needed, or probably results that we needed to analyze. We had 14 days to do it. You see, part of the reason that has killed presidential petitions in this country,
the timelines,
is because of the constitutional timelines allocated by the Constitution. To the extent that even if the judges of the Supreme Court wanted to give their best input in it, time limits them, right? So, and that's why the proposal was that we amend this constitution and enlarge the period within which the petition was to be dealt with. For example, in Ghana or in Nigeria, it takes about 3 months to adjudicate over this. And that's the only way you can guarantee justice. Remember, Article 48 says that everybody has a right to access justice, right? But as you access justice, there are some infrastructures that must come by the way as a facilitator towards the access of that particular justice. And one of those infrastructures is time infrastructure. Therefore, if time is not sufficient within which we are supposed to deal with these issues, you realize at the end of the day, justice is compromised. Not because the Supreme Court actually want to compromise that process.
That the crafters of the Constitution did not envision this, that perhaps you think there needs to be an adjustment.
And that is why we are saying that this Constitution was partly on a trial and error processes. Remember, we all agreed in 2010 that we have 20% of issues that we wanted to deal with. These are part and parcel of the issues that we want to deal with. And this enlargement is not for purposes of Raila Odinga, it's not for purposes of Kalonzo Musyoka, it's not for purposes of Martha Karua, it's not for purposes for Linda or Musendu. Is for purposes of this country and the future generation. Remember, this constitution that we give unto ourselves is not just to serve this generation. It has what we call inter and intra-generational aspects to serve even the generational in the future. So to the extent that we have that issue, we then we cannot say that the justice is being served. But just to come back to your question, you see, if IBC would want to counter these whistleblower positions, the best thing they can do is to lay bare the content of the uninterfered content of the server. That debate will just die a natural death. Nobody needs to come and defend the IBC because the whistleblower's case is the whistleblower versus the IBC. So if IBC want to come clean, let them lay bare the content of the servers. Let them counter that dossier with content originated from the server, content that are authentic and uninterfered. So my thinking is that, and Musendu raised a very important point. And that point, we all along knew when we proposed it in the BBI. We knew you cannot get a neutral mind. It's never. So even the chairman of the IBC or even the judges of the Supreme Court, remember, on the election day, they go to vote. They also cast their vote.
Yeah, they do.
So by the time they are casting their votes, they already have their preferred candidate in their mind. Remember, we keep on saying that justice should not just be done, but must be seen to be done. For example, today, if you knew that a judge was in my house today and we are going for a case with you tomorrow, will you allow that judge to sit?
Definitely not.
You'll simply say, recuse yourself simply because you had a cup of tea with Ndegwa. So this is a judge of the Supreme Court. He has gone and cast his vote in a presidential election. Then there is a contestation as to the results. That judge still sits. Remember, we cannot judge the Supreme Court. We cannot say that you judge so and so recuse yourself because you cast your vote. In any case, we don't know how it's a secret process. But the fact is, they cast a vote for a presidential candidate. Now, how will justice be served? Now let's come to the IBC. Even the members of the IBC on that particular day granted an opportunity, they cast their votes. So they cast their vote to a preferred presidential candidate, and this person is supposed to be an arbiter. How will they arbitrate over that process? And that's why the BBI was proposing. Let us divorce ourselves from this idea that we have independent mind. And I agree with that Musendu to that extent. So that to the extent that we want to constitute the IBC, let the political parties participate. So that we know Linda was brought in by UDA, Musendu was brought in by ODM, the deputy governor was brought in by Wiper, and I was brought in by political party X. So that at the particular time, we already know that each political party has its eye in that particular commission. Then we can be able to feel others, because you can never have independent mind. And you can see the proposal that we actually proposed in the BBI is the same proposal they are now having in the proposed amendment.
And I don't know whether it's turned out to be a different conversation altogether, because last week when we had you here after the much publicized and appreciated Nyanza visit by the president and also the other members of the Kenya Kwanza government, it appeared now that it was a constitutional moment, that perhaps the two sides would want to sit on the same table and argue that yes, we need to have a change. But it looks like there's a change of tone based on this Kamukunji session that we're expecting today, and that maybe it shifts from that aspect of the main interest being the constitution, and now to a shift of perhaps one of them is angling or spoiling for a handshake
to appease Musendu. And he's here
to let's see whether he's
allow me to use the word president for purposes of his comfort. President William Ruto.
Fair enough.
For purposes of your comfort, President William Ruto has a right to visit any country. And so it is for me, even for you, Linda. You have a right to visit any corner of this country. And that guarantee is a constitutional guarantee, whether you are the president or you're just an individual like you. So to that extent doesn't mean that people are then angling for hardship. But you must remember, if you want to kill a dog, give it a bad name.
But wait a minute, Wakili. And normally when we hear Mushendu speak, we know that maybe it's the Kenya Kwanza government speaking. But when you hear Honorable James Orengo allude to that, when you hear the senator also alluding to that is the brother of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, Oburu, alluding to the fact that now, Mr. President, we are a country, we understand that you have these supporters, he had his fair share of supporters. It is time that you also incorporate him.
When James Orengo, senior counsel James Orengo, made that statement, he was alive to the fact that there is serious degeneration of national cohesion in this country. And he was trying to arouse the national consciousness of the president to stop referring to some regions as opposition regions and look at them from the perspective of Article 134, where he's supposed to bring the concept of the concept of national unity. So the degeneration of national cohesion, which President Kenyatta attempted to build at length, is what triggered those remarks. But now, because they do not want us to question what the whistleblower has stated, they are now saying that we are looking for handshake. As we are in the minority, we are not in the opposition. We are in the minority side of government. And the work of the minority side of government is similar to the works of the majority side of government, to oversight government. Now, to the extent that the majority has negated on its functions, as we have said, we shall be faithful to our creed. We shall be faithful to the constitution. We shall check on the government, because the majority side of government has negated on that particular obligation, because they are in bed with the executive.
We clearly are.
And that is why we are saying we are going to Kamukunji to give our people and our supporters some sense of direction.
And we delve deep into that.
Yes. Remember, there is 1.8 million votes. The whistleblower says that His Excellency Raila Odinga garnered. Yes.
Okay. And so is it that we do not have faith in our institutions? And just where do we head with this kind of conversation where there's a whistleblower and it speaks to the current, formation of government and the fears that come along with that, and a president has already been sworn in? Just where are we headed? And when we speak about the presidential vote and we overlook all these other ties, that the deputy governor here will tell you now what? If he's going to agree to the fact that the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission did not handle the presidential vote well, according to the whistleblower, or at least the results, then how do we believe that the governor of Kajiado was installed, in the right way, in the right form? How do we trust that this very institution is the very institution that handled, the election of those members of parliament that are also alluding to this?
This so-called whistleblower did not machinate from somewhere in the world. He must have been in this country, well aware of the provisions of law as far as presidential petition is concerned, and should have raised those issues at the time that is preferred by this constitution, it's rather unfortunate that he cannot follow the laws that we have set in this republic, because pretending and purporting to be a whistleblower right now, I would say that is manufacture. Somebody has gone somewhere and decided to manufacture information that is not supported by whichever part of the law of this country. The drafters of these constitutions have very well articulated the process of contending or going to seek redress if you're not satisfied with the presidential outcome. Those who are not satisfied, amazingly, they are the same people who are now shouting about the whistleblowers. They went to the Supreme Court. My learned friend here, actually, I think he appeared on behalf of someone, I can't remember, but he was part of the Supreme Court case that went down in the Supreme Court. They went through the process. The process did not favor them. At the decision given by the Supreme Court decided to uphold the results as announced by the IEBC. Now, what I am trying, yes.
What tell us whether he was part of it, yes.
No, I only wanted to give him some bite for purposes of his
let me finish.
And I'm very sure he's going to take advantage of it.
The Wakili is good at interfering.
You might need this bite. He needs this bite.
You see, I don't need the bite. I will say
he will come back. He'll come back to listen.
When Wakili is speaking, as a learned friend, I am not a learned friend, I accord him or the necessary time to
proceed. I'm sure he's going to make
it. I'm only being faithful to he's just trying to interrupt my thoughts.
No, I'm just trying to supplement you.
Yes. So what I am saying, is this. Those who are going to Kamukunji, there are people who are still living in the past. They cannot accept that this country has moved on. And it has elected a president. And I told you last time, it is our constitution that gave the threshold which one must meet to become a president of this republic. Something that in the eyes of the law, both from the IEBC to the Supreme Court, the Honorable William Ruto satisfied that threshold and therefore has become the president of this republic, courtesy of the very constitution that governs us. Anybody else telling you that, I mean, we appreciate their disappointment that their candidate did not become president. But that does not necessitate to move our people into Kamukunji and give them. I've just seen a friend of mine tweeting, called John Mogwe, talking about that it is just about the issue of giving hope and never delivering it. We are about 54, 55 months from the next general election. People are now running to Kamukunji to parade our people.
And it's a constitutional right. And
allow me to let me tell you. Let me finish my line of thought.
And the DG
yes, and I'll protect the
just
good governance.
Do I still release you at 8?
Yes, just to finish,
because it's supposed to be released.
Yes. The reason why our people are being paraded,
just allow the DG to say
it is because our people are now being used as a process of fundraising for the opposition and the civil society who want to fight government every day.
Moshendu, reality is that if at all they have these numbers they claim to have, they will continue to challenge the election results. They will make it ungovernable, for this very country.
And that space is provided for the constitution.
Let's allow the DG wants
allow
to
me
be released.
to come in and just for records, I was with ODM.
Yeah.
That's the party that sponsored us to the office. But having said that, election happened. And even when we said no to the results, that is a process that our country allows us to follow. And we followed. And the Supreme Court then upheld the win of President William Ruto. We now have the, I don't know where we call it, a dossier or a whistleblower. Honorable Raila Odinga is free and is mandated by the Constitution to do you know, as an opposition leader to do anything. But I want us to be very cautious. First of all, Kenyans needs to wait to hear what he has for us.
Mm-hmm.
Let's hear the authenticity of this information. We also need to be very careful whether this revelation, our legal system can be able to accommodate it. Because if not, and if we have another route to pass that will be legitimate, that will still be recognized by law, then that can be allowed to be to proceed. But if not, then we need, as a country, not to stir emotions that will destabilize our country. I think if there is no room to allow any other revelations, then we should not go and follow that.
DG, allow me to take a short break and then allow us 5 minutes
the stability of our country.
Yeah.
And honestly, we need to be moving on.
The DG is allow us to take a short break, a quick short break, and then we come back to him, so we get to release him. All right, after the short break.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
This is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is alive.
Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia, kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutuku.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday, with a new year comes endless possibilities, and as we continue to tell the stories of those abled differently,
All All right, gentlemen, we are back, and we have Mheshimiwa here briefly so that we can get to release him, alluding to this very important matter. And, you know, being a member of the ODM, a member of Azimio One Kenya Alliance, I'm sure this is one conversation that you hold dear as we await what it is that the Right Honorable Raila Odinga is going to say. Just what next in relation to this, you know, information that is presented to us by the whistleblower? In the event that we realize it's hot air, as the others would say, what next? In the event that there's some truth in it, and I'm sure Wakili will be able to speak to this even further, just what next, really?
Honestly, we're waiting for the revelations. And if some truths is going to be found in this revelation, then definitely blame will not even be on the presidency. Probably it might not even be on IEBC because they had done their work, and us in the Azimio, you know, went to the Supreme Court. I think this will really reveal weaknesses then in our Supreme Court. A lot of questions, because yes, it is procedure that if you're not contented with the result of an election, you will proceed to the highest court. We are waiting for the truths and the revelation out of this. But if truth is found, then the blame will definitely be on the Supreme Court.
Accept and move on is a bit of pill to swallow across. Across.
Yes.
Whether true, whether not, and I mean the revelations we're waiting for. Really, what would it be for the people of Kenya who are voters, who want to believe in the institutions that are, you know, set to for them to bestow their trust on, who are supporters of the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, are equally supporters of the president?
Allow me highlight 3-4 issues. The reason why you'll see there's a big cross-sectional of the society going to Kamukunji is because the president has refused to execute his mandate of uniting this country. If those people who are in Azimio would feel that the president has made some efforts in trying to unify this country, they would be saying, okay, let us look at how tomorrow will unfold. But to the extent that he has isolated them, made them a target, started to vilify them, then they'll have...
Has he? To that extreme extent. Okay. Well, unless I'm not here. Okay,
you need to listen to what he said yesterday.
Yes.
Every time he's saying, oh, hakuna handshake, you know that is vilification.
But what would you say? What would you say when someone is trying?
Let me finish. And I am saying this, Linda. Those people who are in Azimio, we do not require anybody to sympathize with our situation. Not even Musendu, not his cadres, not his cohorts. We know why we are in Azimio. We are there by choice. We have not been coerced by anyone. And if we were to leave Azimio, we would leave Azimio probably and go to a sabbatical leave and not join any other individual. So nobody should sympathize with us. But let me address the other fundamental issue. The reason why we are having this so-called dossier or the whistleblower is because we have lost trust in our institutions. The institution that we contemplated to create in our constitution were the ones that resembles the Caesar's wife. Yeah? A person without reproach. A lamp without blemish. Now, to the extent that our institutions have refused to live to that creed, then that's why you can see somebody else is giving and casting doubt to their credibility. And I agree with His Excellency, the Deputy Governor, that this is a serious indictment on the part of the Supreme Court.
Let's allow the Deputy Governor
just to put a record straight. Because just to put record straight.
Yes.
I did not say that you know, we don't believe in our institutions. We can only blame the Supreme Court if there are, you know, revelations
beyond doubt.
Beyond doubt that they covered any lie.
Yes.
But honestly, as a country, and we need to be very sober, after this revelation, we need to ask ourselves, where next? Do we have a room in law?
Yes, and that was my next submission.
Yeah?
We have a room in law.
Yeah?
We have a room of doing self.
So that we do not destabilize the country, the economy. There are a lot of things that needs to be.
Briefly for Moshendi to say something.
I had not made my full submissions. I only allowed the deputy governor to come in. I'll grant him that opportunity. One, the opportunity and the window that we have in law is to make sure that if we are amending any law, we are not amending the laws to suit a certain circumstance and a certain outcome, be it the Constitution, be it the IBC Act. But again, if you go to the preamble to our Constitution, it says that exercising our sovereign and alienable rights to determine the form of governance of our country. So the Constitution has, by its preamble, granted the Kenyans an opportunity to determine the form and the manner in which they want to be governed. For this instance, they said we shall establish government through a democratic process that is being supervised by an independent organ called the IBC, and should doubts arise, we go to the Supreme Court. Now, to the extent that doubts have been cast on that particular those particular institutions, that Kenyans decided that should be the ones that are going to give guidance in the manner in which they'll be governed. You see what will happen? We'll be creating chaos in this country.
Will this help?
You cannot tell the 8.1 million voters just to be silent and to say, okay, wacha tuseme imeisha, iliisha, the president was sworn in. Their voice must be heard.
Just how? And will this debate then help us, look into the future commission and in particular the IEBC, now that we're supposed to set and have another one on board, perhaps to make it even better, to get faces that are good enough to, and to steer this entity as should be, because then whether it is clarified or not, whether it is true what it is that the whistleblower says or not, there's still, more of a sword hanging in the head of the IEBC.
Well, I have categorically, and if you've noted, I want to stay out of that issue of whistleblower because the so-called whistleblowers, the names, it's the Jeffrey Smith and Vanguard. They are said to be the whistleblowers of this particular case. But when you go for any service you offer in the US, you have to submit records as a matter of regulations. And if you look at their regulatory...
You seem to be an expert in all aspects. Not just governance.
No, Wakili, let's allow
it is actually
proceed, you're protected.
It is actually uncalled for him to keep throwing words
you're protected.
Speaking my...
I think we come here because
I've given him the courtesy of being at maximum silence when
proceed, sorry.
He also should accord me that. What I'm saying is that the same people who are being said to be the whistleblowers of 2022, if you go to the regulatory records in the US, you will find Jeffrey Smith and Vanguard are the one who advised Raila Odinga on 2017 general election. As a matter of fact, they organized his highly publicized visit to the US, if you remember. And in their website, today you go to their website, they have named John Githongo as one of their advisors. This is a guy who was told by the Supreme Court the best he has brought is hot air, and therefore the credibility of the so-called whistleblowers is in question, because the whistleblowers cannot be the very people who worked on the Raila Odinga's campaign in 2017 and then come to purport that they are coming to whistleblow on how election
and you've also
was.
Had them say
as a matter of fact,
it is a person who works with the most interesting
thing,
an insider of the IBC.
The most interesting thing, they claim that election was stolen in Mount Kenya. I mean, the cahoots, Wakili and cahoots who are drumming support for Raila Odinga in Mount Kenya cannot actually believe up to date that in fact their candidate terribly lost in Mount Kenya, including the polling station where the chairman of Azimio votes. So therefore, anybody talking about a whistleblower, we have to question the credibility of the so-called whistleblower if in fact is that whistleblower connected to the election of Kenya? And the truth of the matter is, the two so-called whistleblowers were partakers and part of the 2017 general election, and they were supporting the very candidate who has come up with that nonsense.
Does it matter who blows the whistle if at all they have their facts?
You know, let me tell you, where are these facts?
Well,
let
their
me tell you,
credibility has to
the whole whistleblower nonsense is about Raila Odinga and Kohut remaining relevant in the
why does it have to be about the
why does not hold water anywhere?
Yes.
Why are they concerned that Raila Odinga will remain relevant? Isn't it his right to remain relevant politically if he so wishes? Why are they so concerned about it? What offense?
But why does it have to be about him?
When he wants to remain relevant,
this is not about
it is not about Raila Odinga.
We will call it out.
It's about the democratic.
They continue to lie to him that they will do anything to help him become more popular. But they should move on. Election cycle is over. We are delivering for the nation.
It's about the democratic destiny of this country. If I were Musendu, and if I was not, and if he was not recruited into the praise and worship team that sees no evil, speaks no evil, and thinks no evil, I would be interrogating about the issues we are raising, the credibility of our institutions. You see what Musendu has been trained to do is to isolate.
There's one comment. That's what
isolate.
Please,
target,
Linda,
and it shouldn't be about
Linda, I am existing in this studio, and please tell Wakili, I am firmly speaking on what I believe in. I do not need training.
Let's calm down the fire.
If Azimio they train them on what to believe.
I have not told Musendu.
I don't need anybody to train me. I speak what I believe. And therefore, let him not cast aspersions when I am seated here.
What I have done and what I am guarding myself from doing is to deny Mr. Musendu the right to self-expression. Like
you
cannot.
I cannot.
I am in charge.
He is not the owner of the show.
What Mr.
Let him speak his mind.
Yes.
Without casting aspersions on what I believe.
Now I'll take charge and allow
not before I say this point. Not before I say this point. They have
make it 30 seconds.
Yes, they have come up with a strategy of one, targeting, isolating, and then bashing. That's why you can see he can easily single out the whistleblowers connected to Mr. Githongo and start to bash them out, castigate them, dehumanize them, deface them.
Is it not just registering facts?
No, you see,
based on
that is the training Mr. Musendu has for targeting. Listen,
whatever he says is
I respect his opinion. I respect his opinion.
If you don't believe
what we should look at is what is being said to the fool.
You should give a...
Can we hold and wait?
Allow me to if someone does not believe in my fact, you should provide alternative
speak about the mountain.
Not cast aspersions.
We have to release
We are used to their heckling.
We are to release the DJ and then speak about the mountain and the kingpin. Yes.
No, but Mr. DJ is a very neutral party.
Allow me
He's
to...
exiting.
Allow me to make my final remarks.
Yes, DJ.
We are done with elections. We are done with campaigns and all that. And this country is greater than an individual, as Saiteti once said. And I want to appreciate Kenyans. This has been one of the most peaceful elections. And I want to appreciate the maturity of Kenyans, you know. Kenyans have come to realize that, you know, election is a process, and losing an election is not a matter of life and death, you know. I think we need to, you know, build our country. And when the president visited Nyanza the other day, he received a very good reception, and that gave hope that Kenya has grown of age and we can be able to work with elected leaders. And therefore I request even those who are on the side of our coalition that, well, the revelation is welcomed, but let's always be very careful that this will not be a recipe to chaos in anything that is going to destabilize or to disrupt the tranquility of our country. Let's also appreciate that we followed all the systems that our law allows us. And I think as a country, we are to move on. And therefore, let's not build emotions to cause anything.
But we also agree that we have to move on basis of truth, yes. on basis of confidence.
That's why I'm saying the revelation is welcomed. Yeah. But let's be very cautious that it is not something that is going to destabilize the tranquility of our country. Once this revelation is verified, let's see to it whether we have a route to follow that is recognized in law.
You know, the problem we have.
If our law allows it, then let's follow it.
The problem you have is that the DG is not able to take a position on this. He's a sympathizer of the current administration.
Is he?
Yeah, from his submissions.
He's very clear that he's...
No. He's a sympathizer. That's why he's seriously sitting on the fence and failing to take a position. You see,
I'm taking a position as a Kenyan.
As a Kenyan.
Yeah,
I'm taking a position as a Kenyan.
Must he?
It is important for a leader who is being followed by people who believes in him to take a position.
And that is
why Raila Odinga...
What is not clear about what he said?
Well, he has not solved a solution. Because he's neither saying that we can trust the institutions, nor he's saying that we should not trust. He's saying, the process was taken to the Supreme Court, the results were announced. He has not taken a position.
I have taken this position.
Let's wait for the revelation.
Let's wait for the revelation.
Perhaps that's the reason why he's here. He's supposed to be in Kajiado.
The revelation is out there.
Yes.
That doubts have been cast.
And I'm saying, let's not stir up emotions.
Let's not tell Kenyans that the revelation is out there. Because we were given this report. What we're waiting for the Right Honorable Raila Odinga
is directions.
Is to give us direction, or to give the supporters direction as to what really needs to be done on this very revelation. Perhaps get into delve.
Who authenticates this report?
Who does?
You see now the guy who sits on the fence and unable to take a position. You see.
Do you want to tell Kenyans to march?
No.
To march on the streets?
You see, if marching to the street is what will mean, it is what will take to redeem this country.
Who has authenticated?
And marching to the street is allowed.
What authority has authenticated?
Linda, may I just answer that question?
We're coming to you, Moshendu.
May I just answer that question?
30 seconds.
And the problem is that you brought people who are not taking positions in this.
You know, these guys. This guy wants to coerce us to believe what he believes. I think for me, I'll say this
kept on saying
without
that when someone else is talking, you allow them to submit.
Yeah, but he should not cast aspersions on what we believe in.
I know.
Whatever he believes in is not superior than what we believe in.
Linda, allow me to make this final one.
We want to allow the DG to go, but not before I respond to his position.
DG, I'm giving you a final one.
Not before I respond to his position. Oh, unto you, the day you elect a leader who does not lead his people in the right directions and giving them some at least hope, or telling them X is better.
What is wrong in saying we need a peaceful
right direction?
Let me finish that. And I'm going to say this because it's going to ache Mr. Musendu as much as he wants. And I have no sympathy for him or apology whatsoever.
I don't need it.
The issue here is very simple, which the DG should be able to tell us. Should we have work being done by a constitutional institution that people believes in, that people have bestowed their sovereignty on, being questioned either by an insider or an outsider? Well, that's one question. Two, what is the way forward? The way forward, in my view, is that we have to have a conversation in this country. And that is one of the directions that perhaps Raila Odinga will give to his supporters. That's one. We have 1.8 million people disjoined from government. They are being told, nyinyi muko katika pande ya opposition, kaeni huko kwa opposition.
But I don't think that is what the
president
said. The president is insisting that he's the president for all.
Do you know why? Do you know why Article 134 speaks about the unity of this country?
Yes.
It's because prior to the enactment of this constitution, we had the opposition side in 1963 constitution and the government side. So we wanted to have a paradigm shift. And then the president was told, you will never view the people from the perspective of either the backbenchers or the front benchers, the opposition or government. That is why today in parliament, we only have two sides, the majority and the minority. Why? Because we realized a disfranchised nation or state cannot move forward in its institutions, economically or socially. So when the president takes the podium and says, wewe kama unakula njugu za opposition, kula njugu za opposition, na we enjoy hizo popcorn za opposition.
And I mean there is majority and minority.
Those people, you know what will happen? Those people who feel that they are not part of this country, they will take a step.
I'll play the devil's advocate.
And the step will be
that on a
they exercise, they may determine and decide to constitutionally exercise their right to self-determination.
On a light note, the president reminds these people that, you know, enyewe hamkunipatia kura, but not to worry because
no,
I am a president
why
for
is
all.
that really necessary?
Allow the DG to
Is that really necessary?
The DG, make it very
Wakili, I'm just saying.
I
will make it as brief as possible. But Wakili, I'm saying, yes, we are a country that is guided by the rule of law. After this revelation, we need to be educated. And if you have some, you know, facts about this, tell us. After this revelation, what next? What validates that, yes, this is the truth?
What invalidates it?
Just
Those
wait.
Are the conversations
just wait. Just to tell Kenyans, yes, the Supreme Court was wrong. So this is the action that you should take as Kenyans in accordance with the law. So that whatever that we tell the people of this republic to do is something that is acceptable by the law. If it is not something that is guided by the law, we're just going to put this country into a mode that will deter.
You see,
don't you think Kenyans have outgrown?
You know, let me answer. Let me answer. You see, one of the directions they may take is to exercise their right to picketing. Picketing is granted by the constitution.
But until when?
Until when?
Until when?
That is the biggest fear today.
It's not time limited.
Let the experts of the law guide us on this.
It's not time limited.
We're going to make the country ungovernable if this is the precedence that we're going to take.
It's not time.
Let me tell you. Wakili can yap all about what is provided in law, but even those freedoms have limitations. There, you have that liberty as far as that liberty does not infringe on my liberty as a person. Now, picketing and going to the street is something that is provided in law, but there are limitations on to how far you can be. If the idea is to go to Kamukunji and actually push people to make this country ungovernable, then I can assure them they will be met by the full statutes of the law, because their freedom is guaranteed in the Constitution. And please, Wakili, would you mind shutting up when I'm executing my point? I am... Let me tell you, the point, they can go to Kamukunji if they so wish, because it is provided by law. In fact, yesterday we were jokingly saying that someone should provide them with water and some sodas. They don't need to be tear gassed by anybody. If they go to Kamukunji, it is their liberty. Let them do whatever they feel they need to do, as long as whatever they are doing does not infringe of the rights of Kenyans of my stature who do not entertain that nonsense. Let them do whatever they do. It is provided for in law. If they want to picket, let them picket. If they want to do rallies, let them do rallies. That is their right. But at one point when their right infringes on my right as a Kenyan who does not believe in that nonsense, then that is where the law will come into place. And therefore, for me, I think the hula barrow nonsense about that who is Obroa and everything, it is a choreograph, something that has been choreographed by their reader, who is used to that nonsense of taking an airplane and moving out of the country for a few days so that he can receive a heroic welcome.
We will take a break. We must take a break.
Yeah, but also remember,
let them go and picket.
We're coming back. We're coming back to you. Allow us to let the DG out. Son of Mau Mau says he's going to handle this. We come back after this short break, and in about 10 minutes, speak to them after that.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
It is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is alive. Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans? We here at TV47's Morning Cafe have great plans for you. We're talking about information, we're talking about entertainment, we're talking about the greatness for the year. So make sure that you're always with us every morning.
Kwa muonekano wao hauwezi ukajua waliopitia, kwa sura zao zinapong'aa hauwezi ukafahamu changamoto zao. Nyuma yao ipo stori na historia. Katika kipindi Mfahamu Kiongozi tunakupa nafasi kuweza kuwafahamu kila siku ya Alhamisi kuanzia saa 1:30 kuendelea. Nami Elizabeth Mutu.
Your health matters, and Body Garage is here to guide you on it.
Someone's, after using the medication, the virus number of the HIV in someone's body will start to go.
My medication, wherever I go, I must make sure I'm committed to my medication. Yes. And I should watch what I'm eating. I should not just eat from everywhere or not just eat anything.
We talk mental, physical, and spiritual health. Join us every Thursday at 8 p.m. Lover of farming? Well, Kilimo Diaries is your home for different farming ventures, crops, animals, and so much more. Every Sunday, with a new year comes endless possibilities, and as we continue to tell the stories of those abled differently, do make sure to join us on Beyond the Limit every Saturday at 7:30 p.m.
It's a new year, and with a new year, it means new business ideas, new trends in the market, and new tips to make your current business even better.
Giving an option for a customer to have unsecured financing enables them to get the product today without putting any collateral down.
And we here on The Grind, we will be at the forefront to keep you in the loop every Monday at 8:30 p.m.
Yeah, like you see, these are the fabrics we use for the sofas. Yeah, there are different types of fabrics. Sabak.
It is the best way to go. Eat color, eat raw, you know, like this is alive. Well, 2022 is behind us. 2023 is here with us. What are your plans?
You know, we are asking ourselves whether there's going to be anybody, Azimio Kamukunji at all. But anyway, let's wait and see. Let's not try to think or even imagine what it would look like. I think we can only wait. The day is today, in the afternoon.
Yes, yes, yes.
Right on Raila Odinga lands. But then, you know, you are reminded that, you know, you're not going to shake these two individuals and the country at large because they are in charge. So yes, proceed and pickets, proceed and demonstrate, proceed and hold this meeting. But let it respect the rights of other Kenyans, as Musheni
Thank you, Linda.
then would rightfully say it. Then the son of Mau Mau says, President, we're focused na kazi. Leave it for us to take charge.
Linda, yes. Next time you invite panelists here, please give us memos on the who is actually one of those people who never participated in any of the Kamukunji engagements. He has never participated in any reform-oriented process in this country. And if he has, I would wish to have some evidence about it. So when we say that people are going to Kamukunji, they are going to Kamukunji to speak with an indelible voice that yes, the battle began in Kamukunji for reforming and revolutionizing this country towards a democratic process. Kamukunji will be a ground where they are going to take audit of the constitution, whether the constitution has served them right. Kamukunji will be the place where we are going to take audit whether the constitutional processes that we have put in place are able to yield the kind of the government that people intend to be governed by. So Kamukunji is a very fundamental unit. May I tell you, Linda, we were in Kamukunji in 1990. People were in Kamukunji in 1991 when we had only one party state. When we had a dictator in power, people still found it worthy to go to Kamukunji. And Kamukunji revolutionized this country. Kamukunji brought multi-party democracy. Kamukunji reformed the IBC that brought Kibaki into power in 2002. So Kamukunji, nobody can stop it.
But we still do not believe in the IBC.
Not
anyway.
even threats,
allow me to read this.
Not even threats from the deputy president that can cow people who believes in the cause that they have started. Because the process of reforming this country, the process of reforming the institutions is still yet to come to a logical conclusion.
And you know, we're not talking about...
Kamukunji will not be called off because of the threats of the son of Mau Mau.
You know, we've not spoken about, you know, back to school. And one person says that, you know what, people need to know that sisi tuko busy, hatutaandamana kesho. I mean, it's actually today, JD, you might need to know that, and because we are back to school. And you know, Advice Mudalo says this, for as long as those in government, Mushedu, I'd want for you to listen to this, for as long as those in government keep reacting so passionately and angrily to opposition plans, it only points to the reality that opposition has managed to deter them from real issues to concentrate on. That is opposition politics. We are fully in a situation where government is committed to keeping opposition in check instead of working for Kenyans. An entire week of conversation about Azimio plans is a win for Azimio. Close it for us.
Well, as I have said and Ebre said, picketing and doing those rallies is a provision of law. If anyone wishes to picket or to do a rally, they should be allowed as far as the law is concerned. And I've said that the limitation is only that if they are right infringes on those who are of us who do not support that idea, then that is when we are going to have a problem. But as far as they want to do a meeting in Kamukunji, it is their constitutional given right to do so. What we will not stop saying, it is when they do those meetings, if they want to mislead Kenyans on what they say in those meetings, we will always be there to call them out if they do that. And let Wakili not make it like somebody has stopped that particular rally.
No, it is
nobody has the notification they have given. Nobody has said they will not hold a rally in Kamukunji. Absolutely nobody has said. What we have said is that we will make sure we deal with any narrative that does not represent the fact. But as far as holding a rally in Kamukunji is concerned, they can hold 100 of them if they wish to. But you know what they are trying to do and what we are trying to tell them off? They are trying to make it look like government is opposed. I want you to tell me where Government has said they will not hold rallies. Government probably, and those of us who support it, do not agree with the analogies they have given for the purpose of that rally. But at no time, and I dare Wakili to point out, at no time had they been told that they will
Linda,
not do a meeting in Kamukunji.
Linda, may I give a parting shot?
Yes, please.
Government is not even able to stop Kamukunji, because Kamukunji is a people-driven process. Kamukunji is a reform-driven process. Kamukunji is a process to liberate this country from what now we are calling the capture it has now. But even as I come to that, Linda, allow me to say one thing as we part off.
Brief.
That we are being called to have a self-introspection of the institutions we have created. Kamukunji is that process that we have to re-energize ourselves and refocus on the nation and the state that we want to have. Kamukunji nobody is calling for an agenda to sabotage government. Now, to the extent that they feel that they want to be sabotaged, I have not seen that memo whatsoever. Now, the issue here is, the Mzungu said the guilty are always afraid. Let us look at what happened before the dossier was done. Before the dossier was done, there was a sensation from the president that, they wanted to kill Chebukati, they wanted to kidnap Chebukati, they wanted to assassinate him. You see, that was a preemptive action by the president to try and preempt the dossier. But now the dossier is here with us.
And so you want to say he was privy to this information?
No, he knew, because that document has not originated from the IBC.
Okay.
I don't think it is an IBC thing. Don't just look at it from the eyes in which some of us might want to look at it with a feeble eye. It is a dossier that is speaking volumes, and it tells you that, that there could be other parties involved in these processes. And at the end of the day, Kenyans will have a conversation, not at the whims of Musendu, not the whims of government, but at the whims and the wishes and the aspiration of Kenyans.
And we close it at that.
And nobody is going to shape this debate. Kenyans will shape this debate. Even threats will not shape this debate.
Let's wait and see.
Because people are threatening. We have had people threatening. They are writing messages to us. We have had them threatening. But I'm telling you, the process of reforming this country must continue.
Linda, as I have said, the Azimio and their cohorts are welcome to do any shenanigan they want to do it.
We are not doing it at your whims.
It is their prerogative to shout whatever they want to shout.
Tell us what we know.
What they shout there. But what I have said is, it is within their liberty to do their right.
Don't tell us what we know. With that we know. That's what we are doing.
They can do it, and no person in government has stopped them from holding a meeting in Kamukunji, and that's a fact. And in fact, the government is not interested in stopping you from holding the rally. What we are simply saying is this: any narrative that they give there that is misleading people, we shall be here to counter it and put it into a fact check.
And it shall fall into
basically, the Azimio and the cohort are used to actually hold people captive when they continue living lavish life and hold their followers captive in Kamukunji. I can tell you today, there are people who have financed that meeting. People like Dego and Jiro and company will enjoy some allowances in participating, where those minions that will be in Kamukunji will go to fight their supper in the evening.
I will not allow for you to respond to that. I will not allow for you to respond because time
I have never worked with the government. I don't work with the government. I don't work with the opposition. I'm just an independent thinker. Mr. Musendu, there's no love lost for you.
No love lost for you, but be sure we will always counter your nonsense, sir.
Next time, get the memo of the language.
I don't need a memo.
Get a memo out.
I don't need a memo. And if you need a show with memo,
get a memo.
Do your show.
Get a memo on the language and the architects of debates.
No.
Here we don't use that language. Here we don't use that language.
I didn't know you've been on this set for the longest time.
No, but it doesn't.